Alright guys, welcome to your 11th Q video, and in this video, now that we're done with the user interface, what we can do now is hop over to the header file for FindCrap, and we actually don't need to do much to this file. We actually only need to add one line of code, and that's this. If you go in your private, right under this UI FindCrap UI object, what we want to do is we want to create a function later on that's going to be responsible for loading the text file, because of course we need a text file that we can search through, or else this program would be useless. So void, and we'll just call it get text file, and it's not going to take any parameters. And there you go, that's it. Your header file is now done. So even though we are done coding in the header file, what I want to do is take some time and go through line by line what all of this is, because even though Q auto-generated everything for us, it's better if we have a better understanding of what each line does. So the obvious stuff, the include, we already know what include means. This namespace right here, a lot of people may not know what a namespace is. Namespaces let you group things like classes together. So if you have multiple classes that you want to group together in a namespace, you can go ahead and throw them all in here, and it just makes them easier to work with later on. Of course, this is our class right here. What else do we need to talk about? This Q object. This is actually a macro that Q says it's pretty much a rule that we have to follow. Whenever we are defining signals or slots, Q says that you need to include this macro. Again, just a rule that we have to follow. Under public, what do we have? This is just the constructor, and the constructor takes a parameter, as you can see. And what? Oh, freaking motorcycle. Okay, good timing with that motorcycle. So basically what it does is it asks for the parent, but what we did is we set the parent to 0 or null. Now whenever we set the parent to null, it means that no parent exists, or it has no parent. So basically we're saying, okay, in the constructor it has no parent. Of course, under that is the deconstructor, which is basically responsible for cleaning everything up. Now in our private slots, let me scroll down a little bit. The private slot, obviously, on go button clicked is just the user action. What happens whenever they click the go button? Makes sense. And these last two right here, this UI object it pretty much is going to represent the overall interface. And of course, the last thing we need to talk about is this function. I already told you guys what it does. Whenever we're running our program, we're going to need to load in a text file, and this is going to be the function that loads in the text file. So anyways, that is pretty much all of the header stuff we need to take care of. What I want to do now is actually jump into FindCrap.cpp, and we can go ahead and start coding everything. So the first thing I actually like to do before I start coding anything is I just like to clean all this up, because I don't like how this is laid out. This may be the proper way, but it just annoys me. So I'm going to put that right there, and this right here, and also just put my semicolons. Actually, I'll put this down here so you guys can see it. Now, I know this is kind of a waste of time, but it really annoys me if I don't do this, so sorry guys. Alright, so you see that how many functions do we have? We have the constructor right here, and then the deconstructor, and then we have this function right here, which is basically the function that gets called whenever the user clicks the button. Now what we want to do is, since we created one or declared a function right here in the header file, I want to go ahead and code that function first. So this is called get text file. So let's go ahead and code this baby. So void find crap get text file right there. Now of course it didn't take any parameters, and let me go ahead and give you guys a little bit more space to see. Alright, so the first thing that we need to do is we need, of course, before I start talking about code, remember what the program does one more time. It loads in a text file, and then you type in a term, and then it searches that text file for that term. For example, if it was a story about Bucky, you could search Bucky, and it's going to find every word Bucky in that story. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to actually say what text file do we want to load in. Now, it's a Q file object, and I'll just go ahead and name it my file. And as a parameter, it's actually the name of your file, but a little bit different. What you need to do is put a colon and then a /, and then whatever the name of your text file is. So you can actually find any text file, any anyone's going to work. But I'll just make up a fake text file later on called crap about Bucky.txt. And okay, looking pretty good. So now what we need to do is we actually need to open up this file so we can use it, because in this line what we did is we pretty much just stored it in an object. Now that we have the object, let's go ahead and do something with it. So my file, the function is called open, and as a parameter for this you actually write QIO device read only. So that is how we're going to open up our file, is read only, since we don't need to edit it or write to it or anything else. So now that we have our file opened up, we actually need to convert it to a stream. So but Q text stream popping up right there. And what can I name this? I don't know, I'll just keep it simple. Text stream.